The unveiling of the company of heaven. Every man and every woman is a star.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Free Radical Media Podcast. I am Eric Scott Picard, one of your co-hosts for this evening, with my ever-present co-host Patrick Ryan.
What's up, everybody?
Tonight on the show, we've got a pretty interesting show for you tonight. I think we've got Marc Marcel. Now, Marc Marcel is a poet and spoken word artist originally from Baltimore, Maryland. He has performed in 6 countries and over 150 American cities, including performances and workshops in over 50 colleges and universities. Known for being among the most outspoken and socially conscious artists of his generation, Marcel is also the animator and creator of the web series Gurus, a satirical comedy based on some of the world's greatest philosophers. Philosopher being a title that could be applied to Marc himself. You should definitely check out Gurus, by the way. We're going to talk about it tonight. It's real funny. Marc, welcome to the show.
Eric, how you doing, man?
I'm doing real well.
That's good. I'm glad to be here. I appreciate you for having me.
No, absolutely. We've actually been planning this show for a little while now. We finally, we finally got our schedules together to do the show, so I'm pretty happy about it.
Yes, me too. I mean, I'm looking forward to it.
So where are you joining us from right now, Marc?
I'm in Baltimore, Maryland right now. Unfortunately, I only say unfortunately because of the weather. I would rather be in LA right now, but I'm on planet Earth. I'm breathing. I got air in my lungs. I really need to stop complaining. I'm somewhere.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel most certainly.
Yeah.
So, Marc, you're known, I think, primarily for being a poet and a spoken word artist. Now, Pat and I both are involved in poetry at one level or another, especially in the local scene. So we're pretty interested in that. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what brought you to do spoken word poetry?
Man, so many years ago, it feels like a lifetime ago. The long story short, well, I mean, I guess I don't have to cut it that short because, I guess, but really, I started writing basically. I was going through a breakup with this young lady, and my folks bought me a computer. Man, it's so wild. We talk about how times have changed. My folks brought me a computer when I was in college, and at the time, computers weren't like second nature how they are now. Everybody has a computer. Then it was like, I was ignorant. I was like, I really didn't want it taking up space in my apartment. It wasn't a laptop. It was like big hard desks and stuff. And I was like, nah, I don't want to take up space. I could go do my papers at the school, But anyway, they came and surprised me, so they got this computer or whatever. So I was going through this breakup, and then all of a sudden, it's just something clicked in me. Something was like, just get your thoughts out. So then I started just get my thoughts out about it. I had this computer that I wasn't doing my work on, but I just started just writing down my thoughts. And eventually that became a book that I didn't even like, but a book to tell me that I could sit there and actually write a book, that I could sit down and write. I'm telling you, the best slogan ever ever in the world is just do it. People think things are so hard, but it's things are only hard when you haven't done it before. But everything is steps. Everything is 1, 2, 3 steps. Everything is steps. You can't miss a step, and you gotta go through all of them. So people ask me, how do you write a novel? Like, I just did it. I sat down and did it. And basically it was to show me that I could do it. So anyway, from there, then I started like, I put a poem I wrote another novel, which is the first novel that I actually published, called St. Thomas. And I put a poem at the end of the book, kind of like to give a briefing of the feeling of the book, like just in shorter version. Just I wanted to give the same feeling. And I didn't really take it that seriously. I thought, me writing these novels is going to be the big thing. It's funny how many, like, what you go through in your life, like when you find something you think that's going to be your niche. That's going to be my thing. Basketball, that's going to be my thing. Oops, no, that didn't work. Oh, writing novels, that's going to be my thing. Oops, no, try something different. Okay, poetry. So anyway, but through that, I started writing more poems. Now, I took a poem there was extra credit going on in my class. I forget exactly what class. It was some type of English literature class. It was specific. I think it was the poetry literature class, something like that. But I still wasn't like that serious about it, like poetry wise. But something happened where I needed extra credit, and there was a open mic going on campus, and I went to Morris Brown, and open mic was going on Morehouse College, and the teacher was going there, and these kids was, the students supposed to bring, who wanted extra credit, was supposed to bring some of their work, go up there, recite, get some extra credit, and I needed extra credit bad, but I was so into my work, I was so loving my writing away from school, I was so loving writing these novels, writing these poems that had anything to do with school, that I was actually late for this shit because I was just writing shit. I was just writing, getting my thoughts out. So I was late. I walk in like when there's 10 minutes left in a whole hour program. My teacher sees me. He's like, man, what you doing here? I'm like, I'm here for the extra credit. He was like, man, come outside. So he took me outside, right? I was like, nah, come on, Mr. Yancey. I really need extra credit, And he's like, man. And so right here, other than, my parents, your parents are always going to be like, oh, wow, that's great. I knew you can do it. My parents always show me support out of everything I've ever done. But this person was the first person outside of anybody in my family to look at me. And it was really the first person I really shared it with. And I was like, I just opened my mouth. I was like, Mr. Yancey, come on, I've been writing. I've written like at this time I wrote like 3 novels. I have like 100 poems. I was like, come on, let me just get up there. And he was like, you wrote 3 novels. I was like, yeah. I was like, and he was like, man, let me see this. So then he looked at like the poem that I brought, and he looked at the poem, then he looked at me, then he looked at the poem, then he looked at me. He was like sizing me up and down, and then he was like, bring this to class tomorrow. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, can I get the extra credit? He was like, man, just bring this to class tomorrow. And I was like, all right. So I the next day I brought what he asked me to bring to class, and the man basically stopped his curriculum and went over my poem to the whole class, and he's breaking it down line for line, and he's saying, man, ain't nobody writing like this from here to Chicago. And you can see me sinking in my seat, like I'm not how people said I was sinking in my seat like as an exaggeration. No, if you looked at me, I was literally sinking in my seat. I was almost hiding, and I was saying to myself, almost giggled a little bit. I was like, man, you like this shit? I said that underneath my breath. I couldn't believe it. And afterwards, as he started telling me about this other professor on the campus. Not only that, but he asked me to bring. He was like, man, you got any more like these? So I was like, yeah. So I brought more. He stopped his class for 2 weeks and was teaching the class my poetry for 2 weeks. It was bananas. Like it was so surreal. Like but anyway, so he told me to find this other teacher who was a published author on campus, and I never did. Went in one ear and out the other. But I remembered the name, and one night I was out at a comedy club. Like this is about maybe like 4 or 6 months later, and they introduced him to the stage, and he got up there doing like these love poems, and I didn't hear the name that they said, but the dude was doing like these love poems, and I kind of giggled to myself and to the I mean unfortunately to my homeboy who I was with, I was like, we were kind of like, laughing at it, and I mean the ladies were loving it and stuff, but and then the host announced his name, and then like my mouth dropped on the floor. I was like, oh my God. I was like, yo, that's the dude my professor told me to go talk to. So
did you talk to him that
night? Yeah, I did. I went right up to him, and I went up there like somebody was trying to sell himself to somebody. I was like, hey, I wrote these novels and blah blah blah. I was wondering how to get published, blah blah blah. But I mean, the dope thing for the time that I was hanging with him, he really took me underneath his wing and treated me like family. And he was the host of a poetry venue. He was at the time in Atlanta, Georgia. And I remember the first time I was ever on the mic, I was just going to go hang out. Like, I was just going to go see what's going on. I went with him. Well, I went to meet him up there. And he like called me. He told me to get on the mic. And I was like, I really wasn't really getting on the mic. Just get up there. And I started read from paper. And I was reading the wrong lines on paper. I was really that bad. And I remember other nights he hosted, I was just trying to go out, like this was like months later of hanging with him, and like I would just go to the spot he was hosting, just trying to lay back. He was like, no, I'm calling you up on the mic, you better go get ready. So he really pushed me to get out there, and then and I just took that, and I mean, and I just really got into the performance side of it, and it just really turned into a bigger monster for me. Like I started like releasing poetry CDs, spoken word CDs, and just touring. Like I wanted to get my stuff out there more than just Atlanta, Georgia. And so then I started touring, and just went from city to city, got in my car, made my connections, and I remember, I've had some crazy experiences, man. Like it's been a beautiful like adventure. I remember even some of the greatest. Yeah, I remember times I would get in my car. I'm in Portland. I didn't hear of anything going on in Portland, and I get in my car and I drive right into Portland. And my mission would be like, let me find where some poetry venues are going on here, so I can get in here and sell my CDs. And I would actually find something going on. I mean, those little things, like just the things in the adventure that I love, that brought with like being introduced into the world of spoken word. So it's a long story of how I got introduced into the game, but once I got introduced into the game, it's brought me. I also had to make things happen because the spoken word world it's an underground scene. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it really is.
So you have to move hard for it to be beneficial to you. You know what I'm saying? You have to do a lot of legwork, and so that's just what I was ready to do. And I guess on some form of level I did that, but how successful I was at it, I guess that's anybody's opinion. But
now, how at what point did you get involved with YouTube and social media? Did that come significantly later in the game, or that happened relatively at the beginning?
Oh no, that came later in the game. Man, it's so wild. All right, man, you about to have my mind going somewhere else. Not somewhere else, something that could be pertaining to this.
No, it's all good, man. It's all good.
But like, just make me think of so many different things. Just so many, I've lived through so many decade. I've seen so many things. I remember when I had a pager in high school. My parents thought I was dealing drugs, and I was like, "What?" It's just a pager, you know. So I remember going through all this. So anyway, no, I came through the game before YouTube. I got involved with YouTube basically because I wanted to put. I needed to make a presentation video for my poetry so I could get more gigs in the college world. So I needed to make a presentation video, and I posted it on YouTube. So I was just posting. I was actually teaching myself how to video edit. So in all that process, I guess I was doing that for a couple of years. I really wasn't really. I'm stuttering because I don't consider myself on YouTube like that, but I guess on some sense I am doing something on YouTube, you know what I'm saying, especially with the gurus now, and I guess every now and then, you know, I may do a blog, but it didn't start like that. It's just started, I was trying to do videos, I guess for my poetry stuff just to show the colleges, and then from there, then I would show snippets of I guess getting more of myself out there. I would show not snippets, but poems that I had performed out of a whole feature. And then it just grew into me showing whole features. And then really what happened, I mean, the video that I guess really what caused me to do blogs, which truthfully, I want to blog more than I do, but I'm so wrapped into my guru's adventure, and that just takes up so much of my time. But the video that caused me, I guess, to be on YouTube more than just making videos for like colleges and stuff like that, I guess caused me to blog, and was, you know, the DMT video where, you know, I tripped out with my homeboy Travis in Canada. I mean, I guess I don't know why doing that video caused me to do other videos or pertaining to explain stuff, or no. It's not that video is what caused me to do blogs. It's just that video came before all that, because I mean, I was probably going to start doing the blogs anyway, because I guess I had this thought in my head that I had some information to share. However, much I was fooling myself, who knows? But so I probably would have, you know, eventually done the vlogs, but you know, that video was the first that kind of sparked it out. And I guess that video, I guess at that time in my life, I also was not worried and not handcuffed to the idea of being known as being just a poet. In fact, I had gotten sick, and you know, you can become a slave to so many things. And I actually became a slave to my art form. I was like, man, what else am I gonna do? And I got sucked in it, and it was a little fearful. So when I allowed myself to be known for more than just one thing, and just, you know, and not care for how I'm looked at or how I'm going to be known, then I guess I opened myself out to do more videos that talked about different subjects, or you know, or pertain to different things than just like poetry videos and stuff. So I guess that's what happens. You know, I guess life experiences, I guess, is what caused me to get on YouTube in short, but in long story, I had to explain all that other stuff.
All right, yeah, I see. You know, so it just kind of becomes part of the journey at a certain point, huh?
Right.
But you know, it's funny though. You brought up a good point. You know, becoming a slave to your art form, and it's like I've seen a few people that started on YouTube or social media. You know, writing or doing poetry or doing, you know, song covers or whatever, and then it just evolves into them being just an overall personality. You know, then it goes into them doing blogs, and then it goes into them giving, you know, fashion advice or whatever the hell, you know. And it sort of turns into this, you know, these people are sort of managing their own little like internet roadshow, And it's wild,
right.
man. It's like
It is
this
wild.
is the face of the new renaissance that we're sort of
It
entering into, you know?
it really, really is. And you know what? Let me cut in real quick. I wasn't. It's funny because I wasn't. Where I was like, excuse me, my mind drifted off somewhere. I was wanting to pertain to what you were saying. You're gonna make me say what I was gonna say now because it pertains exactly what you said, just a new age. I was telling my partner who's doing gurus with me, Brian. I was telling him, we grew up in an age. I was like, Brian, remember when online dating first came out? It was weird to us. It was weird to us because we didn't live through it. We was like, yo, that's kind of like for weak people or whack people or whatever. That's how we live. It was weird. I was like, but now you look at it, people grow up in that, and now it's common. Like people meet their wives and everything through online dating. It's a common way of life. And so I was also telling him that about the crowdfunding. We have looked at crowdfunding a little bit like, oh, we don't want to do crowdfunding or like, and I was like, and I get it because we grew up in a time without it. But you know what, dude, 20 years from now, that is going to be the way of life. Check it, because it's going to get to a point where the public is going to support what they want to see, and that's actually going to take away the power from all the networks and all those corporations. The public is going to be like, you know what, I want to support the show that these two people are doing over here, and so I'll give them a little money every bit of month because that's what I want to see, and that's what I want the world to see. That's what's going to happen, and like the internet is a big thing for a lot of these things, so it's wild. You can't. You have to move with the universe. You know what I'm saying? You can't be stuck if you're staying stuck on one ideal, man, you're being stagnant on the ways of the universe. And this is a beautiful time, beautiful awareness, and beautiful just outlook and game. It really is just a fucking game just to be maneuvering yourself around and, you know what I'm saying, and figuring this shit out, so.
It really is a new paradigm, isn't it? I mean, we've got services like Patreon where artists can get supported by people who enjoy their work and they don't have to be tied into some big corporate structure. I mean, look at the publishing industry. Look at how many new up and coming writers are turning to self-publishing rather than going with the traditional publishing.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly, and the internet is so big for that. It's funny, like YouTube, YouTube and Facebook, I would say used to be a little bit user friendly for artists. Now, not so much, but still, the internet in itself, just the internet as a tool is, man, it's such the biggest fucking tool any individual could have, and that's why it's so important for us to make sure it's not censored by government programs and stuff like that, for all the stuff they're trying to do with the FCC and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, agreed. It's vital for us to keep the internet free and open and, again, user friendly for people, for the individual.
Right.
We can't let it be co-opted and become a tool of corporate interests. You know what I mean?
Right.
More than it is now.
Right.
Because
right.
it is,
Right.
Right. Yeah. But no, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. That kind of leads me into, I do see you on social media and stuff. You're very outspoken. It's kind of what drew us to you because we're, we do a lot of talk about social activism, cultural activism, and stuff like that.
Right.
So, right. Is it? I don't know how I want to phrase this. Is it that your art leads naturally to that course, or does your art give you a voice for social activism?
Well, I would say maybe in the beginning I felt like my art made me feel like I had to be outspoken in, I guess, certain things that I was spoken in, that I would, address. But that's actually a very good question, because you know what, truthfully, before I ever did anything art wise, I was always, outspoken. It just wasn't looked at as art,
Yeah.
but or someone who's trying to find logic in something. I guess now whenever I say something, not all, because there's definitely people out there who think I'm a fool. So I mean, I guess there's a handful or a group amount of people that think or assume what I'm saying, has some logic behind it and has some type of it's addressed from an artistic point of view. But really, I mean, it's not really so much. I wouldn't say there's so much addressed from an artistic point of view. It's just me trying to find reason or logic in a situation, and people take it however they take it. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna take it one way because I have been an artist. You know what I'm saying? Or I am an artist. So but really. It's fine. It's kind of it's a weird paradigm. You know what I'm saying? I would say really it's just me being me, and I guess people would, and I guess it's just me being me, and people I guess may give it a little bit more attention because I am an artist. I would say that's what I would say. If I wasn't an artist, I would say people might not give it as much attention. I would say, but really just me being me, just sharing my thoughts, and I guess also, they say, there's a license to parody, parody, everything is, there's nothing off limits in parody. And also with art, there's nothing off limits in art. So I guess, my mouth is kind of like, a filter, like I'm just going to say how I feel, and however it's taken is however it's taken. So
Sure. I mean, I think you're right though. I think any artist period needs to be themselves, right? They need to be honest
right,
with themselves, honest with their audience. Even when you're doing like parody or satire, the best parody or satire has some honesty in it.
right, exactly,
It has some integrity,
right.
you know.
Right, exactly. Because I mean, that's exactly what parody and satire is. It really is truth masking jokes.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what I like about that's what I like about gurus, which I do want to talk about a little bit here. Uh, I don't know, gurus I think is hilarious. Why don't you tell people a little bit about what gurus is?
I appreciate you, man. Well, Guru is basically, in simple, is a cartoon parody about the world's greatest philosophers, thinkers, and innovators working side by side to solve the modern world problems. And we have characters like Jesus, Buddha, Malcolm X, Gandhi, Alan Watts, Terence McKenna, Socrates, and they all have tweaked personalities. Like Buddha has anger issues, Jesus is like a little bit needy, Alan Watts is a prankster, Gandhi's filthy rich, Malcolm X, he has a split Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde personality. Like when he experiences racism, he turns into like this raging white hawk monster, and and Thomas Jefferson, he hates the government. So we all play, go through tweaks of the personalities, but underneath their jaded personalities lies their real message. Obviously, like through Buddha and his anger issues, like his real message is going to come out through that, because his message was basically nirvana and peace and basically calmness and like, yo, like just chill, dude. You know what I'm saying? But basically, it was born basically because I really wanted to make fun of my own philosophies, and so I created an alter ego, Eisen Godfrey, and I was going to make fun of all the things that I think to be possible in the world, you know, what's going on in the world or society. And then I thought, you know what? Why not only make fun of my own philosophies, but why not make fun of all the people I admire and have learned from most? So you know, it's really it would really be funny, and I know I'm going to get it, and I have got it. You know, people are like, you shouldn't be using Buddha like this, or Jesus, or how dare you? Like, you have no respect. But what they don't understand is that that's why I'm using these people, because I respect them so much.
Yeah.
You know, my father told me, you know, when I was younger, you know, he would always tell me, you know, if you can't laugh at yourself first, you have no right to laugh at someone else. And so that's how I look at it, you know, and I look at my friends. I joke with my friends, you know, teasing is love to me. You know, me and my friends, we joke each other. So I'm making fun of the people who I admire the most. And so it's funny for people who would, you know, try to say that, well, I don't have respect for these characters. Could be the furthest thing from the truth. I admire these people more than anybody in the world, you know, and I guess that's the type of connection I have to him. Maybe it's a closer or more personal connection I have to him, that I can actually find humor in them. You know what I'm saying? And stop taking them so serious. You know what? And truthfully, that's the thing. And also, I realized, you know, a lot of people who aren't in the shoes of someone else think someone's life is a certain way, and I was understanding this, you know, because there's a lot of people who assume that my life is all thrills. Man, there's a lot of downs, a lot of boring moments to this shit, and that they don't understand about. And so, and a lot of second guessing, and a lot of, like, you know, wondering if you're not the type of person that you could be.
Right.
And that made me look in the mirror, and that made me like look at all these other people that these people admire. And I understand that, man, they aren't on this pedestal that society gives them. Nobody, man. People puts, you know, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, and all the other characters that I've named, you know, and so far, I think they put them on a type of pedestal, and I don't put them on that type of pedestal. I put them in an area where I admire and learn from them, you know, but I put them on the type of, like, if I was in the same room with them, I would love to engage in a conversation with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't be afraid of them. You know, I would be
People
like,
forget these figures were human beings.
exactly,
You know?
exactly. You know, exactly. So, you know, really, that's where, you know, Gurus comes from. You know, I'm just making fun of all the philosophies of all the religious philosophies. You know, all the philosophies. Just I'm making fun of everything, even atheism. You know, I'm making fun of that. You know, any philosophy of what you think the world is about. You know, and we're making fun of it all, because truthfully, like, I also feel humor is a form of enlightenment. People need to stop taking themselves so seriously. I think that's really I don't want to sit here and say that is what's killing the world, but man, that is one of the, you know, if you want to give one of the problems, I think that is one of the problems. People take themselves so fucking serious, man.
I agree wholeheartedly.
You know, I mean, the only reason there's murder, I mean, that's people take themselves so seriously. The only reason there's cops fucking beat, you know, the police brutality, they take themselves too fucking seriously. The only reason there's fucking terrorists going on, you know, in France, because they take themselves too fucking seriously. You know what I'm saying? It's all that. People take themselves so fucking serious that they need to fucking lighten the fuck up.
People cling to their ideologies like it's a life raft.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is like a major cause of the unrest in the world, I think.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you know, people don't understand that the only thing that they know is what has been in front of their eyes for the time that they have been born, and they're forgetting that there's 7 continents on this earth, and there's 100 and I think it's like 200 countries. There's 7 billion people that all have different experiences. And for some reason, that one person thinks his way of life has to be how everybody else lives. So they want to make the whole world conform to it. You know, that's insanity right there, you know. But anyway.
Totally is.
Oh, yeah. It's completely insane.
it boils down to, I mean, at least the way I understand it, I just think beyond, people obviously taking themselves too seriously, but it's this fear of ambiguity that people are ultimately, I think, forces them to cling to their beliefs and their ideologies for dear life, that they can't fathom them maybe being wrong, or maybe there being an alternative to what they're thinking, and to them it's like, well, if that's the case, then the whole world that they've built around that idea is bullshit, or at least partially bullshit, and they can't fathom that, they'll literally kill you and themselves to make sure that they don't have to experience that.
I know, it's crazy. And you hit something, man. You really hit something. You hit, people base their ideologies on not being wrong. It's however I feel about what's going on with this, I hope I'm wrong. When I say I hope I'm wrong, meaning that I hope it's more magnificent than I think that it could even be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I hope I'm not even. I hope I'm like not giving it enough credit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's even way more magnificent than that. You know what I'm saying? So I could care, because if it's exactly what I think it is, and some of the, I've seen some things that I was, maybe 98% of the public hasn't seen, or what. I only say that because 98% of the public don't tell me they've seen the type of stuff that I've seen. So. But I still pray that it's even way more magnificent than that. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, so, hey, man, it's nothing. People need to, it's nothing wrong with being wrong, man. People need to lighten the fuck up, man.
No, yeah, certainly. And I think like a project, like Gurus, you're trying to, it seems like you're trying to slay people's sacred cows. Sometimes, you know what I mean? And I appreciate that, I appreciate that kind of attitude, it's just, I don't know, it appeals to me. I think it'll appeal to a lot of people too,
I appreciate you, man. Well, people like yourself, are going to help get it out there. I appreciate it. This Gurus is for people like yourself and Patrick. It just is. It's right up your alley. And I know there's a world for it. So
yeah, certainly, and you've got Terrence McKenna in there, right?
Oh yeah.
I don't know how I quote on the show, right? One of my favorites. I'm sure you know it. It's the artist's task is to save the soul of mankind, and anything less is a dithering while Rome burns. If the artist cannot find the way, then the way cannot be found.
Right.
It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. Not just one of my favorite Terrence McKenna quotes.
Right. Yeah. Terrence was the dude, man. Like Terrence is man. It's I never. The thing about Terrence, his knowledge sneaks up on you. Because he has the type of voice that you don't think that it's going to be soothing for you to listen to for hours, but the shit he says, the bombs he drops, with his language. It has you sitting there listening to this squeaky dude voice for like hours upon hours, and you're just engulfed with his message. It's just, Terrence is the man. I love Terrence.
You're totally right about that too, about the tenor of his voice. Like if you listen to like Alan Watts videos,
yeah.
That on, it's better than listening to like whale songs when you go.
Right.
I mean, it's like so soothing. You know what I mean? It's like your grandpa reading you a story. You know what I mean? Yeah, but you're right. Like, Terrence is not quite that way, but
right. Oh my God, you're so right. Yeah, Alan is like you by the ocean. Listen to the ocean breeze. Yep, you're right.
I get these images of him at Big Sur in California. Yeah.
It's funny too, because those guys' philosophies are more relevant.
Yeah, they're more relevant today than, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, what and the things that I think I know, I in my investigations and my history searches, I find that, I'm really not saying anything new. Like this stuff has been said, and it's been said plenty of times over. It's been said by many philosophers. It's been said in really, man. Truthfully, if now I'm by no means a religious person, and truthfully, I don't really so much look at Hinduism as a religion, but it's still a religion. But if there's a religion that is the closest one to them all, I would have to say Hinduism has it a little bit closer than all the rest of. But so this stuff has been said, it's been recycled, and it's still and always going to be relevant. And it's even funnier than that. You go through stages of your understanding. Like I know way more now than I did 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I knew way more than I did 10 years ago. And it's funny, I was listening to a CD of mine. I put out 17 CDs, and I was listening to like maybe like the fifth CD of mine one day. And I was listening to it, and I was like, wow, I knew this shit then. I just didn't know I didn't know it. And I say it because, some kind of way it's all the same message, but it's just the language just gets a little bit more in depth, or is brought to you a little bit differently, throughout history that I've seen, and the message really is, it's so funny, man. The message really and simple is, enjoy yourself, have fun, lighten up. This is your experience, and everything else just gets broken down to a little bit more in depth about it that way. You can get more critical about it, you can get more analytical about it and try to understand the meanings of it and all like that. But the message is simple. This is yours. Enjoy it. Have fun. It's not real.
Right.
So
yeah, it's not real. It's just a ride, right?
Yeah. An hell of a ride.
Well, Mark, we were talking earlier before the show. We kind of wanted to get you to read a poem if you'd be into it.
Yeah, no doubt. This poem I'm gonna do is called "The God I Used to Be," and it's actually gonna be on my new album called "The God I Used to Be." I used to be something extraordinary, something that could move mountains in a day and yield energy into the sun, something that could bend space and time and fold outer dimensions into one. And I used to be something so magnificent that to even think of myself would be less than. I could inspire nations, civilizations. I used to enter into the homes of cavemen and teach them how to say my name. Their drawings of the walls are proof that I was there. I am not a terrorist nor American, yet I am what they both stand for. Unfortunately, they're wrong. I am not meant to be idolized. I am meant to be shared. I am meant to be mocked and made fun of because just the thought of me is so fucking outrageous in the first place. I am creation. I am what you never thought to be possible, but I am. Yet, I am being human because it's the least I could be. And I am savoring the taste of the moment by moving in slow motion. So I am meant to have a second chance at life because I wasted away the first one hanging out at the beach smoking and staring into the ocean. I used to be extraordinary. I used to make universes with sacred geometry and hide the coding in the last places people would open their third eye to blink. I am what happens when you experience with hallucinogenics. Yes, I am a figment of your imagination. However, I am the only thing that's real. I am a moving contradiction, something that shouldn't be but is. Humans call this life, while I have yet to understand what it is. I used to be extraordinary. I used to throw moons into planets just to watch the after effects. Please, I will spark out the sun if it ever tries to burn me. I get bored with sleep because it's too easy. Anyone can do that. The only reason I'm here is to cheat death. So you will not find me in the box looking for answers because I left all the questions on the outside. I am what I used to be, just different. A little bit human, just enough so that the experience feels real to me. I am from the future, here only to tell you that my past is meaningless. I am not supposed to make sense. This is for the ordinary. They will not discover me. They have been looking in all the wrong places. I am the light at the end of the tunnel. This is where I'm from. I used to be something so amazing that only the thought of what I couldn't be was enough to grab my attention. So I am not to be outdone. And that is just the God I used to be. But you should hear all about the God I'm going to become.
Nice.
Man,
I really like
that
that.
was awesome, man. I love that one. That was great.
I appreciate you, fellas. I appreciate thank you.
No, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. It's timely too, man.
Thank you, man. I'm looking forward to getting back out there and performing it, man.
No, yeah, I bet. You said you're about to put out a new spoken word album, right?
Yeah, it's actually been it's actually been 2 years in the making. I mean, I had like kind of sworn off doing CDs. Well, I was sworn off is such a strong word, but I had said I wasn't doing no more albums. And then my friend Rico Lucky, who actually produced a few tracks off the album, asked me. He was like, "Man, I want to produce your next album." I was like, "Man, I'm not doing no more." He's like, "Man, come on." I was like, "All right." So he got the juices revving up for it again. And as I was, working on it, it just, man, it is the album that I've, I don't even care about all my 17 CDs no more. Like, I've put out this one, like, this one takes the cake.
That's how you should feel about all your newest projects too.
Exactly.
Like, this is the best one, right?
Exactly. Otherwise, then why you're doing it? You're either staying stagnant or you're going backwards if you don't feel like what you're doing next is the best. So
I'm always curious. It's like I'm a poet myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I go back and I read things that I wrote, years ago, right? I think to myself, like, what the hell was my mental state when I wrote this? Like, where was I? What was I doing? You know what I mean?
Right.
I'd never date anything. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like, tell me a little bit. Like, do you remember like what you were thinking when you wrote that poem? Where you were? Like, what your environment was?
Well, actually, this poem in particular. I can tell you what I was thinking really. The beat for the poem is all right. Rico produced the beat for the album, and I was trying so hard to find the right poem for the beat because the beat was a little unorthodox, and I wanted to. There was another poem that I was going back and forth with to use it for the beat, but I didn't want to. And that poem is called Things Like Me. But I was about to use, but I really didn't want to use it. So I was like, man, I have to write something. And it wasn't coming out. It was not coming out. And it just wasn't coming out. And I was about to, whenever, through my career of being an artist, whenever I need something, right before I need it, it always gets there. But this one, for some reason, I was starting to get a little bit worried. And I was like, oh shit, is it gonna get there? And like something hit me one day. I just like, okay, that's what it was. I named my album The God I Used to Be. And then something triggered me just to write a poem about the God I used to be. And I was like, I basically was inspired by the title because I was naming the title of the album that, and I was like, all right, that's going to be that. So then I was inspired by the title. I just put myself in the place of just extraordinary metaphysical, I guess, subject matters that I could think of. I just put my mind there, I would say, and I just took my brain to thinking outside of anything political, and I didn't want it to be religious. because I don't think that poem sounds religious at all, or really spiritual. I don't think, I think it sounds, uh, I think it sounds a little bit metaphysical.
That's the word I had in my metaphysical. I think it sounded metaphysical. Yeah.
Right. But so it's wild that so many of these poems take different aspects and feelings. But basically, that's where I was trying to go with it. I wanted someone to. I wanted this to take some. I wanted the poem, the words, to take someone on a ride, and for them to and for them to be like, well, yeah, that's kind of but for themselves, what I mean, what I'm saying, for themselves, like I wanted them to take it and think about it for them and being like, yeah, what I'm saying, like as far as it just making sense, I guess. So I guess the poem was basically really inspired by the title, but then I put my mind state into that area of my brain, and I left it there, and I just went there, and I just grabbed what was coming from that area.
Yeah, I see what you mean, and like, I don't know, man. It seems to me like some of the best art, it's personal for the artist. It seems personal for the artist, but you can find yourself in it. It's both personal and transcendent, right?
Right.
It's like the microcosm and the macrocosm. It's
right, the yin and yang.
yeah, exactly.
Similar,
right.
It sort of vaguely reminds me. Are you familiar with the poet Hakeem Bey?
Hakeem Bey. I do not think I am. I don't want to be a liar and say I am.
You really should check him out, because that poem was sort of in the same vein of a lot of his poems. It's not overtly religious or spiritual, but it definitely has a sort of metaphysical, almost like psychedelic type essence to it.
Right. Hakeem Bey. I'm gonna check him out.
Yeah, Hakeem Bey's it's also a political philosopher, spiritualist anarchism. A lot of people, put that term to him. He's an anarchist philosopher, ontological anarchism. Some people call him. It's controversial within the anarchist community, even, which is controversial everywhere.
Right.
Yeah, interesting guy in his poetry, man. His poetry is real cool.
Hakeem Bey. I'm gonna definitely check him out.
What do you think? I don't know. I'm just tossing this out there since it's it's in the air. Like, what do you think of anarchism and politics and philosophy? You know what I mean? Like political philosophy.
Well, I mean, really, I think anything is political.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Everything is political. I mean, even if you're discussing the football game, I mean, really, that's political. I mean, so you can't get around it. It's kind of like, almost like I put in my book. You can't get around not being religious, because even not having a religion is a religion. I mean, in a sense,
right.
Because all religion is a structure, and even if you say you have no religion, you're just spiritual, you have no structure, that still in a sense is structure. No structure is a structure, so you can't get around it. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I think I think in a sense we are all this. You know what I'm saying? We are all political, philosophers in a sense. It's just on one level what type of attention is given to the person. You know what I'm saying? Or why whatever they're saying is important. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because truth be told, I mean, if Betty Crocker, was that a real person? I don't know. But anyway, I'm trying to make a point of somebody who basically, anyway, all I'm saying is, the way you cook food could somehow change and be the most important political thing that is viewed in society, all if society conforms to view it that way.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we are all these titles in subject matters. It's, you know, it's just a matter of what attention is given to it, you know.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's a great analogy too, because food is super political. You know what I mean? And it always has been, like always, always, always has been.
Right.
You know, especially now, you know, because everything seems to be coming to this focal point now.
Right.
It's especially political now, you know. But like it makes me think of like that guy Anthony Bourdain. You know,
right.
He talks about. I remember one
Yes, I
episode
know.
he went to Jamaica and he said like the best food on the island is what they used to serve to slaves. Right? It was slave food. Right, but it's like hearty, you know, thick food made with like, you know, available ingredients. But he's like, this is the best food. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and he's like, he was saying like, this is the best stuff the world over. What poor folks always have eaten.
Right.
You know, but it's always been a matter of class, like what food people could get.
Right. Exactly.
You know, and consume. So it's always been political.
Right, and you could apply that same metaphor towards music.
Right, exactly. So really, everything's political. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Everything, man.
And poetry too.
Yeah.
Writing in general, you can apply it to pretty much anything.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, we are all these, you know, all these labels. We really are all these labels. It's just what attention is given to it.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess it's how you perceive it, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Perception and perspective, you know?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It's like with your poem though, what I really enjoy about it and what I sort of strive to do anytime I write or sort of partake in any creative endeavor, it's sort of beyond genre. You know, now I'm not very well versed on different types of poetic genre or how people label them or whatever. But I have a lot of respect for anyone, whether it be a music artist, poet, you know, you name it. Someone that, you know, writes and it's just raw expression. It's not trying to be a certain category, or it's not trying to be, you know, whatever philosophical style or writing style. It's just what it is, you know. And it's like if they're reinventing the wheel and creating their own genre out of the process, so be it. Or if they're inadvertently fitting one, you know, but because to me it's very evident when someone overly tries to fit some sort of mold, you know. Right.
Definitely is. I mean, it's funny, you know, when I first started writing, you know, a lot of my work was very pro-black political. I can't say a lot of my work, but, you know, there was enough of my work that I started feeling that way about. And then I was like, you know, I don't want to be known as the black political writer. I want to be known as a writer. So, you know, I just started breaking that, just, you know, and it goes into these labels. Like, you know, we really are all these labels, but if you just work on trying not to be a label, you know, then, you know, you'll be all right. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause it's man, I swear, you know, the yin and yang is so prevalent in every aspect of life. Really, that's what it is. You know, we really are every label, every aspect, every label there is. We really are that. But I guess the trick is trying not to be a label. You know, just be whoever you are. Whatever comes from it, because people are going to see different things from it. Just like people think something is good, somebody think it's bad, some think somebody is attractive, somebody thinks something is unattractive. You know, it's the yin yang in every aspect. However it's perceived, it is what it is. And just like they take these percentages, somebody wants a Republican president, somebody wants a Democratic president. You know, so if we just work on just being yourself and stop conforming to what somebody else wants, and really that's the, I guess, best way to find, you know, happiness and really peace.
Absolutely. Totally agree with that, man. Totally agree. It's like we deny our own personal experience and honest reaction to things, and we constantly look towards these, you know, political pundits or the media or, you know, whatever, somebody that's already put their perspective out there, instead of first listening to our own response, you know, and then looking and seeing what other people say. It's like we've got it all backwards.
Right. Exactly. You said something very good there. You said it's first looking at our first response. You said something, man, I'm glad you said that because people forget. People look up to so many other people. People put other people, certain people on a plateau that above themselves. They forget themselves that they live a life. They breathe air too. They have their own experiences. They should take their own advice sometimes too. You know what I'm saying? Like they need to like listen to themselves sometimes, man. And I tell people all the time, we are living in a world really. I mean, it's changed and it's progressed, of course, but we still living on a world whose roots have been birth and created from people who don't even live here no more. Meaning that people have these ideals on marriage. Why? Because people 1,000 years ago got married. Now, what if it just so happens that we were there thousands of years ago and we made up how we wanted marriage to go? You know what I'm saying? Like people give people who were here before them too much credit, as in thinking that they knew best, but they didn't. When really they have less information to know more than what the people here now know. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's exactly putting it. Yeah.
But they know best with less. I don't understand that shit. So you said something right. People need to listen to themselves sometime and stop fucking trying to like get the answers from someone else. So.
I mean, it's something I've thought about a lot recently. It's this fact that, life is about constant change, right?
Right.
And history should be about constant change as well. Like, why are we clinging to these old traditions, right? I mean, like, religions are supposed to change.
Right.
Politics is supposed to change. Economics is supposed to change. Like, why are we clinging to these old ways like there was ever some kind of golden age?
Right.
We've never figured it out.
Yeah,
right. Exactly.
So, I mean, we should be looking forward, not backward.
Exactly.
That's a big part of the problem.
Yeah, I agree. Why is everything, everything can't change, but, religions, how can everything, change for the future, but religions and all these, ideals stay primitive, we have technology, all that is like changing, but yet, you're going to have these old primitive ideals, it's not matching up. And I mean, eventually, all that will change. Put it like this. Evolution, it has no choice but to change. You know what I'm saying? It will change because that's evolution. Exactly. I mean, there's only one of two ways it's going to go. Either it's going to come head on and the whole world is going to explode. We're all going to kill ourselves, or it's going to change. Like, it's only one or two ways. And I mean, it's going to change, so.
Yeah, we should be looking at the natural world around us in the universe and how it functions for guidelines on how we should be doing things. Like evolution, man, you're right. Things need to change and evolve for the better over time. That's how things are supposed to go naturally in the universe.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly. So that counts for our philosophies and our ideologies and our ways of thinking too.
Yeah.
And like, when it comes to religions and stuff, you look at some of the newer spiritual paths, take like the neo-pagan movement, right? Now, neo-pagans aren't practicing the same rituals and traditions as people thousands upon thousands of years ago. But they're drawing inspiration and taking the good that they see from those things, creating something new. Right. That's positive, right?
Right.
Why can't some of the institutional religions start doing that too? Like, yeah, we're going to take all the good stuff from the Bible, right? Take all the good stuff from the Quran, the good stuff from all these holy books, and focus on that and move forward.
Right.
I mean, because really, if they really study their religions, they could see their shit has been changed through the years anyway. So why all of a sudden they want to stop it now? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, really, if you look at the universe, the universe is a very interesting thing. Let's say, and this whole idea of extraterrestrials, is an interesting thing. Let's just say, that there is no such thing as, let's just say extraterrestrial life outside of Earth doesn't exist. Let's just say that's what it is. You know, there's something about this universe that is still trying to tell you, no matter, it's still trying to remind you how small you are. Because if extraterrestrial life doesn't exist, it still gives off the perception that with billions upon billions of stars, that it's quite possible that it does exist. So if it's giving off that perception that it does exist, then that's letting you know, yo, everything you think ain't what you think.
Right.
And it's letting you know your world is small, your problems are small. Like what you think about God is not. You can look at the universe and start logically conforming and start understanding this. And it'll start breaking down your ideals of how you should fashion other people's beliefs too.
Right.
Yeah.
The whole inquiry process of coming up with theories or hypotheses, it's a creative endeavor in and of itself. There's no guarantee you're going to hit some concrete fundamental truth. That doesn't mean you shouldn't take a stab at it.
Yeah.
But treat it like any other artistic
exactly.
endeavor.
Exactly. Because truthfully, I kind of think that's one of the reasons why we're here is to debate why we're here. You know what I'm saying? And try to figure it out. And I'm almost feel like we're never going to figure out the answer, because I think that's almost the answer, to always debate the answer. But we don't got to fucking kill ourselves over it. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we don't need that level of violence, and depravity and fear.
Yeah, exactly.
In order to do that.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, but I guess it is what it is on one level. And so I guess it's always going to be what it is on all levels. So
you gotta acknowledge that these people, what they're doing, like you said, they're clinging to something too rigidly, when the essence of everything, and the only thing that is constant through all of it is change. So it's like, until these people wake up to that fact, you're gonna have lunatics like them.
Yeah. The world is an interesting place in its lunacy.
So, you're a musician too, also, along with the poetry, right?
Well, a musician, as far as I don't actually play an instrument, more so than I create music, production wise. My father is a pianist in a jazz band, Sterling Silver, but I guess I've always had an ear for music, because of him. So when I started to do the production through the Logic and Fruity Loops and Pro Tools and all like that, I was able to understand what I was doing and understand where shit needs to be placed. Because I tell them I feel like I'm cheating. Because I feel like I can hear where shit needs to be, and the computer just allows me to put it there. You know what I'm saying? While I feel like he actually has to play it by hands, and he gave me a different perspective on it. He'd be like, no, you're not cheating. It's like you're creating music, through the computer, through how it is. You're playing it through that. I was like, yeah, I get it, but I appreciate it. But I still, he's the musician. Those will be people actually play, move their fingers with stuff, and make the music come out when they push it, and not to push play and hear it later or whatever. Those are musicians to me. I'm a music producer, though, I guess you could say. I have surprised myself like that. I'll say out of everything, I guess out of all my I'm lying. Animation is I've surprised myself with the animation. I guess producer music and in the animation is what I really surprised myself. I would say those were two things that kind of really that I'm like, wow, really? I guess I could say egotistically, I'm excited about myself that I actually can do. You know what I'm saying? That I'm like, yo, I can actually do this. So but I don't even. It's funny, I don't really broadcast it. The thing I guess I'm most known for is being a spoken word artist. And all these other things I don't really like broadcast too much.
Right, 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 right. Well, you're certainly doing good with gurus, man. I
I
really
appreciate you, man.
and your spoken word's fantastic.
I thank you, man. That means a lot. I really, really appreciate it. I remember when people didn't like my shit. I remember when my poetry was horrible. I was reading the wrong lines. So trust me, man. Like any compliment I get on any of my work, man, it is all perspective. It's your choice that you like it, and I'm thankful for it, man. I really am.
I totally know how you feel. You know what I mean? But sadly, I wish, Pat, sometimes that we did a Joe Rogan 3-hour thing. You know what I mean? Because so many times it comes to the end of the interview, and I'm like, God, I'd just like to continue
Like,
this.
we go on, right? Yeah.
But we're getting down to that time. Mark, why don't you give everybody your contact information, where they can get your stuff, your website, and where they can see Gurus, because I definitely want people to check out Gurus.
Yeah, no doubt. Appreciate you, fellas. Well, my website is just marcmarcel.com, marcel.com, and I have you can find some YouTube videos, Marc Marcel TV, and uh, um, definitely check out Gurus, which is theguruschannel.com, and they can also find it on YouTube, the Gurus channel. And we got a bunch of different shows underneath the parent show, Gurus. We have the B Team, which is Buddha, Jesus, Alan Watts, Terrence McKenna. They go out and solve crimes like the A Team did. We have the Oddest Couple, which is Malcolm X and Thomas Jefferson, their roommates. And then we have Stooges, which is Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. And so we have a bunch of shows underneath the parent show, Gurus. And the parent show, Gurus, 22-minute episodes will be out probably the beginning of the year. So that's pretty excited about that. Well, thankful that it's here, because that was actually the first thing I worked on, like the episodes at the time. I kind of put a stop to it, and I was like, let me get to the other stuff first, the smaller segments like Guru Shorts, because 22 minutes is a long ordeal to try to build a fan base off of, but that'll be out soon.
Cool. Great. Oh, Mark, it's been an awesome conversation, brother. It's been good to hear.
I appreciate you, man, and Patrick, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you for having me, man. It's been a pleasure.
All right, so everybody, Marc Marcel. Again, all his contact information will be linked in the description of the video or in the description of the podcast, wherever it happens to be that you're listening to us tonight. Again, you can get a hold of Free Radical Media via Facebook, via Twitter, via Tumblr, most of your social media sites, and our website, freeradicalmedia.net, which has recently been revamped, so go take a look at that. All right, everybody, Free Radical Media Podcast. This is Eric Scott Picard. That was Patrick Ryan. That was Marc Marcel. You have a good night.